guys, this is another information video from us. This is Connor from Out of Work Outdoors, and if you're not a subscriber, welcome to the channel. And it's the first time you've ever stumbled upon our channel. Check us out, maybe you like us. But so today our topic is going to be to discuss line and different line setups for fishing long range, because we do a lot of bank fishing, so we're always trying to maximize our casts, and casting distance matters a lot, whether you're throwing directly into the middle of the river or whether you're throwing along the banks, because the closer you are to the fish, the more likely you are to spook them. So we've actually found that out many times, and that's how we have kind of experimented with this idea, and we're going to share some of the findings with you guys. So basically, this is the very common setup for our group. Is a 7-foot rod, spinning rod, with a reel on it. Okay, it's a spinning reel that is you can say it's pre-rated for braid. Okay, so what you want, this is going to be for like the smaller game. Okay, I'll discuss the big game in a little bit. So for smaller game, 10-pound braid, and I do recommend going with either Power Pro or Suffix. This is Suffix. I'm still playing with it. I kind of like the Power Pro a little bit better. And then you want to go to a mono or a fluorocarbon line. If you're on top water, you want the mono. The mono will float. If you're jigging, you want fluorocarbon, okay? Because the fluorocarbon will sink. Since you're jigging, you're going to be on the bottom. If you're on top water, you want the mono, because the mono floats. Helps you keep that walk the dog action going, right? Like for example, this lure right here, already reviewed in the project, so check it out. What you want to do is tie on, let's just say for our striper setup, right? Top water. All the top water hits are always going to be more aggressive hits, much more aggressive hits than any of the jig bites. So for the top water hits, I usually almost 95% of the time go from a 10 to a 12 or a 17 or a 20-pound setup. I always go with at least 5 feet. And I say at least because it's either going to go just 5 feet, so you get enough dangling off the tip of the rod and onto the lure, so when you're casting, that knot that you're tying between the main line and the other line doesn't go through the guides, and it doesn't cause that that sound that goes through the guides. It's kind of irritating to me sometimes. Or what you're going to do is you're going to go all out and run the line all the way out, all the way back into the reel, and get yourself at least 5 good winds in there. And a good place to cut it off is when you wind 5 times on this line, it goes all the way back out to the tip, all the way back to the end of the rod. Okay, that's a good way to measure how much line you need if you're going to really go for that long range, because a lot of the times the fishing can get tough and you're still casting and maybe you're picking up fish, or maybe it's wet weather, it's raining, it's cold, and your hands, your fingertip tends to dry up, or I call it go grandma on you, because if it's wet it'll wrinkle. When it wrinkles, the braid has no problem cutting your fingertips. So if you don't have like electrical tape or some type of a leather glove on, it's gonna cut right through it. But the mono won't, the braid will. So if this is coming back and it's wrapping against the reel, you're going to be okay with that. And when you're casting it, you actually want a little bit of flex in the line, because the line actually, when you're whipping it, it'll whiplash a little bit better, and it'll give you like another maybe 5 yards. So that's the setup. So you want to go from braid, make the connection line to line, no swivels, and then make the tie onto your lure. And that's how we've been able to get a lot longer distances compared to a lot of other people that we fish with. And everyone who's used this technique in line, I don't really care what reel you have or what action you have, or fast action, whatever action you might have on the rod, this line setup is always going to give you another 10 to 15 yard advantage over the people that run strictly a monoline or run strictly a braided line. Okay, And the reason why I say that is I used to be a finesse fisherman, alright? We used to always run 6-pound mono, Maxima Ultra Green 6-pound. And it casts very well, but there's always that problem when a big fish will hit it at range, at long range, and you don't have the ability to give a proper hook set because your line's too small. And if anybody knows stripers or hybrids, you know what I'm talking about. Their mouths are basically made out of bone, so you need a really good hook set. You can't give it to them. Well, this eliminates that problem. There's like the best out of both worlds right here. When you put the mono at the tip of the line, the first 10 yards or so, well, not even 10 yards, just the first, like this is a 7-foot rod, so you got maybe 15 feet in it. First 15 feet, or even narrow it down to 10 feet, you got a big line on there. What that big line does is it absorbs a lot of the impact from the fish when it hits it, and then from there on it's braid, so you're not going to get any stretch. You can feel the fish, and especially on top water, you're going to see this if you actually try this technique out. Is usually top water, if you're fishing on monoline or even fluorocarbon line at distance, you're going to work it a lot harder to get a little bit of action out of that lure. If you're on braid, it doesn't matter. You could be 50, 100 yards out. One twitch on this rod, 2 inches of twitch here equals 2 inches of twitch on that lure. And that is the whole reason why we love this setup. Because it's the best out of every single world. It's a big line in the front, so all those super hard hits, they just don't snap on you. And then you get the small line diameter that will spool out of this a lot easier, and it will give you the extra distance, and everybody knows that. A smaller line will give you extra distance. But you don't want to sacrifice the strength, and this is the combo that you will have to go with. And this combo is also really good on surf rods, and this is where we got the actual idea from, is the guys from the surf rod world. You guys that are on the beach and they have to cast out beyond where the waves are crashing, and we basically took that idea and we're using it here on our rivers, on our smaller setups, and it's working phenomenal. Okay, and the fish for some reason don't care. This happens just to be green, but if you guys ever pay attention to our videos, I'm mostly running on a red line, and on red line it doesn't even matter as long as you get to the first 5 feet or so and it clears up. Top water fish don't even care, they'll bite it. Alright, so once again, recap, you want braided line on the main spool. It goes out, it's either 5 foot, in my opinion, if it's either going to be like a 5-foot section of line, or you're going to do an entire section where it's like basically twice the length of your rod, where you get at least 5 lines in here, all the way to the top, all the way back to the tip of the rod. Cut that off, put your lure, your top water lure on there, or your crank, your crankbaits, whatever. It's gonna cast out a lot farther. That's for top water. For jigging, bottom water, any lure that comes through the bottom, and you want it to sink. Even crankbaits, go with a fluorocarbon line. It'll help it sink faster. But yeah, and what this setup does is it gives you the benefit of casting a really small line, like 4 or 6 pound line, because this main line might be rated at 10 pound, but in the diameter it's only like a 4 pound line. So it gives you the castability or the casting characteristics of a 4 pound line, but it still gives you the strength of a 10 pound line, which is huge, big advantage. Okay, so all those bigger fish that you've always been kind of afraid of when you were using 4 or 6, or the battles that took 15 minutes back in the days when you're using just mono, will only take about 5. And I pretty much guarantee you the hookup ratio is always gonna be better, because you can feel the fish better as well. You can feel as soon as the hooks grab onto the fish, you can feel it. You can feel the fish pushing away. You can feel the bite off the bottom when you're jigging. It's a much stronger bite. It's not really like a tug. It's like a boom, like that. So That's what we've been doing the last 2 years, and it's been working very, very well. And it's also a good thing because when you're tying a leader on that's such a long leader, you're only cutting away the leader. You're not really cutting away the braid. So the braid, which is the more expensive line most of the times if you're using mono as a leader, it stays on the spool for a whole year, at least a whole year. So that's always a big plus. So that's been kind of a line selection for us for the last 2 years. It's been tried and proven. We use strictly the uni knot, a double uni knot to join the lines. You guys can look that up on the YouTube. They got a lot of good tutorials on how to do it, a lot of animation. We use the Albright knot, and Hybrid Killer just stumbled upon another knot called the GT knot that he really likes, but still hasn't been proven with me. So that's just our setup, and if you guys have another setup you think we should know about, please let us know in the comments. Leave a link if you can, so everybody else who's watching this video can benefit off of it. Alright guys, well that's it for today, and that if you try this out, we will guarantee you basically another 10 to 15 yards on your cast, and it's always good to get another 10 to 15 yards out of any setup. Okay, I'm talking any setup. If it's on a surf rod, you might get another 30 to 40 yards. Okay, just letting you know. Try it out and let us know your results. Hey, if you watched this far already, I'm pretty sure you like what you've just seen, so please be sure to subscribe and check out our other videos. If you have any pictures you'd like to share with us, please post them up on our Facebook page or tag us on Instagram.